Ladies and gentlemen, that's who we love and that's who we serve. Today, we have a very special guest. James B Rosseau joins us. He is the author of Success on Your Own Terms. You're not going to want to miss today's podcast here on InnervisionFM FM. We're going to talk a little bit about success on your own terms on the InnervisionFM universe. Join us. Stay a while. We're going to have some fun on InnervisionFM.com.
Is it running now? Yes. Hi, everybody. This is the Godfather Soul, James Brown. I tell you, this business is on. My man is on. Check him out. This is the Godfather Soul, James Brown saying stay with it and hit it. Okay, thank you very much.
All right. Welcome to the show. Do you have anything to say about this, Gettr?
How dare you?
Yeah. Oh, okay. It is what it is. I'd like to welcome everybody to the show. Like I said, this is going to be a fantastic show. I just found out, I was listening to a past interview of the gentleman that we're going to have on the show today, and he said in the interview that I have an audio version. So I was reading the Kindle version. I said, let me go back over to the audio version. Let me check that out. So man, I'm almost to the place where I was in the Kindle version.
Nice. Thank you.
I'm digging that, man. I love that. So when I recommend the book and on the audio, they said it hasn't been ready yet. So I'm gonna give you a 5-star there. I'm gonna tell some other people, get up there.
Oh
and read the book.
man, yeah. Thank you.
So let's. I'm sorry, I jumped in there. Let's finish setting this up, and our intern also, Desi is here, or Desmond, and welcome, Desmond. So, Alan.
Yes.
Our sponsors.
Well, let's talk about Christian Brothers Moving Company. These guys are based in the great state of Texas, also in Phoenix, Arizona, and Inglewood, Colorado. Wow, I sound like a radio announcer.
Okay.
Colorado. These guys have been good friends of InnervisionFM FM for many years. If you need help getting across the country or just moving across the state or just moving from one city to another, these guys can help. Let's talk a little bit about Eeny Meeny Grants, Denver Art. I always mess that up. Denver Arts Organization. There's all these different arts things that have. Anyway, we've got these guys. We've also got Eeny Meeny Grants. These guys help us with the promotion of our grassroots musicians who are physically disabled or financially challenged or both. Now, if you feel like you would like to help, visit our main page at InnervisionFM.com. That's www.InnervisionFM.com. And you can find out how you can be a help to these disabled musicians, recording artists. And from time to time, we'll bring on guests like this. This is actually awesome because we do service the blind community, otherwise disabled community, and we do have quite a few listeners who are, well, dare I say, quote unquote, able-bodied folks, normal, whatever you want to call it. I'm an old guy, so I have to work at this political correctness. So you'll have to forgive me. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, whatever platform you're on. Leave a comment down below if you can. Hit us up at info@InnervisionFM.com if you want to be added to our newsletter, or if you've got a subject, topic, something that you would like to see featured, let us know.
All right. So we got all the paperwork out of the way, and do stay until the end because I may have a few surprises for you. But I want to tell you, I would find like a little interesting tidbit before we get into our guest. This guy, and I think it happened on the Colorado highways, and this guy was he was caught swerving on the road and stuff like that. And when the cop pulled him over, as they were walking up to the car, they noticed that the guy jumped out of the driver's seat and put his dog in the driver's seat. Well, then the police said, well, gentlemen, sir, you have been driving kind of erratic. What's going on? And the guy says, well, my dog was driving. And so this guy tried to get out of a DUI by saying that his dog was driving the car erratic. So only in America.
You can but you can't.
Oh, this is a true story.
Yeah, true story.
Oh, wow.
Just happened.
Happened like a day or two ago, I think.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow. I thought you were making a joke and there was a punchline coming. Oh, this is a true story. Wow.
True story. Sometimes life is better than a comedy skit.
Yes.
So Mr. James B, is that Rosseau, right?
Rosseau, yep. Mm-hmm.
Rosseau. Tell us what, because I've tried to, I wrote a book before, but it takes a long time from beginning, conception, it's in your mind, and then you get it down on book. But this, I bet this book was like years in the making.
Absolutely.
And then you finally said, okay, let me crank this out. And maybe it was a stop and go. How was your experience in writing this book?
No, that's a great question. I didn't plan to write a book. I was literally mentoring people. I was still at JP Morgan Chase, Wilmington, Delaware. I was mentoring a lot of people. I out of the desire to want to be more consistent when mentoring, like I had 10 plus mentees and it just kept growing. I said, well, let me try to be more consistent by taking some notes. And I started taking notes, and those notes turned into, 40, 50 page Word document, right? Because it was everything from helping, other African-American employees figure out how to break through the glass ceiling, to networking, to how to negotiate your pay increase and all those different type of things. And I said, well, let me just start taking notes. And next thing I know, I got this large Word document. And so I leave Chase in 2011. I'm now at Allstate in Chicago, and I'm talking with a friend over lunch, and I'm telling him about these notes. And he said, well, man, that sounds like a book. And I said, well, no, it's not a book. It's just a bunch of notes. And he said, well, you mind if I introduce you to a book coach? Sure. He introduces me to Melissa Wilson. Melissa says, this is absolutely a book. And I said, no. She said, well, do you mind if I introduce you to an agent, a book agent, an author agent? I said, okay. We met. He said, same thing. This is a book. I said, once again, I go, no. So he says, let me take it to a few publishers, and literally in a couple of weeks came back with 2 potential publishing deals. And so went the rest of the process. Now, like, what you think is a dumb book is not done. So once you sign a deal, the publisher tells you all the things that you need to go do and write the real book. And so I probably spent 6 to 9 months then writing the book.
Oh, a lot of editing and going back and forth.
Absolutely. And when I originally wrote it, it was all business practices stuff. I had nothing personal in it. And my book coach convinced me that, well, you have to tell your story throughout as well, because that's what really people need to hear. People need to hear your story. Like the business concepts, yes, valuable, but it's the connection of both your personal life and the business concepts.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I enjoyed the most about the book, is the idea that it really roped you in. It made you want to read it. Whereas some books that are out there, especially some, well, for lack of better terminology, self-help kind of things, they're a little bit dry. And I figured, boy, this is, this might be a little dry reading, but I'll knowledge.
I'll give it a shot.
Yeah, I'll give it a shot. And I said, wow, I was captivated in the first 5 pages.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah. And with me, sometimes I really don't like sports that much. But if the sports person puts a piece of their personal life in there, that's more interesting to me than anything else. I say, and then like for the music business, when I read a book, I dig into like the business part of it. And I've had girlfriends that when I first saw the Ray Charles movie and read the book, she wanted me to denounce Ray Charles because he was playing around with those other women. I said, I don't even know the guy. So she took it that way, and I took it. I just like, I'm getting the business part of this, but it was a big argument about his personal life. And so sometimes you can get in trouble with girlfriends and stuff like that. But
for sure.
And I like that you gave like a piece of the story, and then you say, I'm going to get back to that later. And then you gave some filler. Then you came back to that piece of the story. And David Chappelle does that. He does that.
Yes, very well.
Yeah.
Very
that's
well.
what I noticed. I said, yeah. So that really brought it apart. And then sometimes as young people, things happen in our lives and we don't quite understand it at the time. And part of one of your story that you told about your father was a story that I have a cousin he's a preacher. He's what they call like high yellow, and his daughters, but he had a son that was chocolate. And at the time I didn't know that you could adopt kids. That's how young I was. And then I didn't understand that this kid had other problems other than just being adopted.
Right.
And so we found out what his dad, or his adopted dad, knew, but we as kids, we found out what that problem was, but we kept it a secret.
Right.
Right, until we got older, and then we talked among ourselves. And so you finding out stuff and not really understanding it when you first found it out, and then as you grew older, you were able to digest it and then make it make sense. And that's what I got out of like your relationship with your father.
Right.
Yeah. So I want to really recommend people to read this book. And I like the concept. Tell us a little bit about, because I have my concept, pretty similar to yours. I want to say we as Black men, can do other things other than selling drugs or hip hop or basketball. There's a big world out there.
Absolutely.
And you said that you want to go this direction and then come back and tell us that process.
Yeah, well, you're probably referring to when I was talking to Skip Shaneholz at the time. He was the CEO of Women's and Savings Fund Society, and I was a young, guy trying to grow up in a new corporate structure, and we were at a celebration event, and he said, we got to talking. He said, asked me how old I was. I think I was 28, 29, and I told him.
I thought you were 24, but
maybe I'm sorry, 24. Yeah. And thank you, man. You got a great memory. And he said, wow. He said, I've got a 24-year-old running a big part of the HR department. And I said, well, any complaints? And he said, well, actually, no. And so, we just laughed and continued to talk. He said, well, let me ask you something. You really drive hard. Like you work hard, you're, in early, leaving late, doing all these different things. Like what is behind all of this? And I said, I would love to at some point be able to go back into my neighborhood. I think I literally said like driving a Lexus and just showing folks you can do it in a different way, right? That was at that time, my context of showing some sign of success. And he said, what do you mean? And we just, we grew a relationship, and I told him, where I came from in Philadelphia at the time. If you didn't have a great jump shot or run the ball down the field or weren't a rapper, most people assumed then if you did anything, you were a drug dealer. And if not that, you weren't making it, quote unquote, out, right? And so I just wanted to show them you could do normal things, other things that more people could do, because the challenge with the previous things I mentioned is that's a tight triangle between, playing ball in the neighborhood and growing to professionally play ball, right? Or, everyone can't be a hip hop artist, but most people can succeed in some form or fashion and achieve the level of success.
Yeah. And some of these gang members and stuff like that, they probably would make great CEOs because they're managing this quadrant of dope sellers or whatever. But when they went left, you went right.
Yeah. Thank God for that.
Yeah. And it seemed like you had a good foundation in the beginning of life, that you had parents that were showing you and guiding you a direction.
Yeah. My mother and father, have been married for a while. Both came up from the South to the North while pregnant with me. I still don't totally get why, but I'm happy because, my mom was from Miami and my father was from Lamar, South Carolina, and haven't been there. Nice to visit. I love living up in the North. And, they were church-going folks. My dad was a pastor. My mom, helped conduct service. She was also like a legal assistant at work. And then my dad became an insurance man. And so I had a lot of exposure to watching them work hard, and being foster parents. I mean, usually there were 2 foster kids in the house, usually at any given time, right? And so watching them not only work hard for me and our family, immediate family, but extend that to others. So great examples there. Yeah.
So this is almost like the Brady Bunch 2.0.
Yeah, I guess you could say that. Yeah.
So that's obviously because each new child that you bring in like that, like a foster child, you have to adjust, because what was your space and your younger brother's space is now another person's space.
Totally.
And your parents have to say, well, hey, you guys got to get along, and it's probably a little bit of that as well.
Yeah, totally. And adjusting to all their things, right? I mean, most kids that were coming through had some kind of problem they were dealing with, right? So I had one foster brother who would break curfew. I think whatever our curfew was 9 o'clock, he'd come knocking on the door at 10:30 and have a bag of groceries in his hand. My mom's like, where did a bag of groceries come from? What is that? And so with each individual, they have problems, just like I had my problems, right? But you don't know it when someone's coming in as a young, as a teenager, right? So dealing with all those adjustments, but it was helpful to me to see again that giving financially and otherwise from my mother and father. Yeah.
See, that sounds like another book.
Yeah. It could be. It could be. Yes.
Yeah. I assume there's a lot of foster kids out there that, there's 2 sides you can tell that story from.
Absolutely.
And then being a PK kid, you're in the back, joking around with your friends and stuff like that. And then your mother had to give you the eye.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Yeah. My mother, sometimes I would be in the church, and my mother, I would be falling asleep a little bit, and she'd reach over and slap me in the face and wake me up, because there was no children's school at that time. And so we all the kids, we sat through the whole thing back in those days.
Whole thing. No children's church at my church at that time. I'd be in the back seat, and you'd be cutting up, and without even seeing it, I could feel the beam of her eyes looking at me, and I'd look up to the front, right? She'd still be clapping her hands, conducting service, but just giving me that look, and stop.
Now, our intern Desmond, she has a question. Go ahead and open up your mic.
Yeah.
Yes. Good evening, Mr. James. I am Destiny Frazier. So I have one question to ask you.
Go ahead.
Okay. So what passion sustains you?
The desire to help other people pursue their purpose and passion. As my story is not unlike many stories. Growing up in that area I grew up in, I didn't think I would make it. I had a father who loved me, but at the time I didn't feel validated, right? And then when him and my mother got divorced, I went to live with him for a while. And then that didn't quite work out the way I expected. One day in my senior year of high school, he didn't come home from work, and one day turns into two into three into a week, and you're trying to figure out what you're going to do. And I dropped out of school for a while, was failing high school, was trying to take care of the home with my grandmother, and eventually I fell apart. Like my after school job wasn't going to pay the rent and all the bills, right? And so moved back in my grandmother down south, went back to school, got myself on track, and then got out of high school, went to Temple. In there for a day or two, my financial aid falls through. They boot me out of Temple very, very kindly. They tell me, you don't have the money, you got to go. And so, you figure out how to do other things. And when my father passed away, I had several occurrences of finding him, then losing him again. We were living in Philly, found him at a halfway home, and he was getting better. Then he disappears again. Found him again up in New York, and then he disappears again. Found him again in another part of New York. And in that time when I saw him one last time, he passed away from AIDS. And the funeral process, right? You all go into hyper action mode of taking care of things. But I remember closing the casket and kind of falling apart after that, I think, inside, because I knew I'd never get his validation. Like the opportunity was gone. And I remember, not at that time, but years later, I was just in hyper performance mode. I think people act out in different ways, right? When they're hurt. Right? Some are obvious because you see people, yelling, screaming and whatnot. But mine was less obvious because I just performed, and there's nothing wrong with performing I think if it's for the right reasons, right? I was performing to prove something, right, to myself without even knowing. I was being fully conscious of it. And years later, I was able to figure that out. And so after going through all that, for me, it was, wow, I've been blessed to not turn to other things and do harmful things per se. But how many people could use some help, right, in figuring out how to find their passion and purpose? Because I found mine along that journey, you know what I mean? And so I just think when you find your purpose and your passion, life can be very different.
Did other people think you were strange? Because I know it's like, I used to DJ at a club, and the women, the guys there, they thought it was strange that I only wanted Sprite. They said, "You're not having fun if you're not having a drink." And I said, I'll do my Sprite because I'm here to mix this music so you can have fun.
Yeah,
that's right.
And so did some people think like you were strange because you were out, partying all times a day? I mean,
absolutely. I mean, even as recent as I can remember 7 years ago, and I was leading a sales team. When you lead sales teams, salespeople like to hang out and
they work, play hard.
Yeah, you be at a convention and the convention part ends for the day and everybody goes to the bar. And I'll go to the bar, hang out, have a club soda, whatever, even a glass of white wine. But my rule was 1 glass of wine and out before 9. And they would laugh when I would say that. My sales team would go, "Come on, James, hang out. We're all hanging out. It's your sales team. We're all in from all over the country." And I go, 1 glass of wine, out before 9, period. And it's funny. I think when you stick with it, it's funny initially, but then after a while, it's like everybody says, that's his rule. That's kind of what he does. And people respect it. And so I think that's a big part of sometimes we are stretching for acceptance. And really, if we be true to who we are, those who care about us and such and will respect us, will respect us.
Yeah. And I had a pastor that once said, because I used to go to the church where the pastor, they had the guys do double dates and stuff. And he says, nothing good happens after 10.
That's right.
So
Mine was 9. That's the same thing. Nothing good is happening after 9 o'clock. That was my thought. Yeah.
Yeah. So, Desmond, you have another question? Go ahead.
Yes, Mr. James, I have like another question to ask you. Let me see.
And please, you can just call me James.
Okay. The second question I have for you is, what dreams drive you to be passionate?
What dreams drive me to be passionate? Well, again, my purpose statement is, I'm a communicator destined by God to help other people reach their purpose, right? Yeah. By building infrastructure and systems. And so I think the dream that drives me to be passionate is a dream of helping people have choices.
Oh yeah.
Right. Oh, yeah. I'm a God guy. I believe in Jesus Christ as my Lord and Savior. I think that as an example, there's 91 million people who listen to hip hop music every day. I believe they're all forms of it. And I'm like driven to make sure they hear Christian hip hop. They may not stay with it, but I want them to have the opportunity. And I liken it to, if you grow up in the inner city, you'll play football and basketball because that's what you're exposed to. You don't know about field hockey, soccer, and golf, and badminton. And so, not saying you have to go play those things, just want you to know they're available, have exposure to them, and then you can make a choice. And so I think that's part of the dream that drives me, making sure people have a choice in terms of the path they take in their life.
Yeah. It's interesting that you bring up choice because when people get locked into a certain situation, let's say they get involved with drugs or alcohol or whatever. It's promiscuity, whether it's anything. When they get there, it's kind of like a jail cell. I mean, you go in, but it's comfortable. There's all these nice things around you, and there's you're cool. You got your friends there. I mean, it's all good. And you're hanging out. The cell door's wide open. You and your friend, and inside, and. Sometimes it takes people a long time to learn. Shoot, I'm 52 years old and I'm still learning things. Yeah. And, there comes a time when that cell door, which has been open all this time, but you never leave because you're comfortable doing your thing. One day that cell door does eventually slam shut. And at that point, it's too late. it's absolutely too late. So, 1 Corinthians chapter 15 is a really good place to find, I guess, the blueprint, the directions, the instructions, however you hit. You hit 1 Corinthians chapter 15. Read that whole thing, but within that chapter is the salvation message. Here's how you do it. Pretty simple. Just ask him into your heart. He doesn't want religion. He doesn't want some, well, I do understand this is a family show, but I'm going to share something here. I smoked a lot of pot, and now I'm looking at being homeless for that. That's okay, because that helped me to learn some things. Hey, maybe that's not the way to go. And initially, when I decided I would kind of look at putting it down or quitting even, I got to a place where it's like, well, I'm going to do it so that nobody could complain at me. But then I started realizing, well, check this out. Christ died. Before he died, though, he gave up, what was it? The fruit of the vine, I guess you might say. He says, I'm not going to, imbibe anymore until y'all are in heaven with me. I'm totally paraphrasing here. So if he had to get to a place where, okay, no more fermented grape juice for me. It's getting close to my end. Well, why do I got to wait till my end to just start following him today? Because I don't know when my end is. He knew when his end was.
That's good.
Yes. Yeah. Hey, Technic turntables.
Yeah.
Yeah. What about them?
Okay. I remember when I got mine.
Yeah.
And I used to be at family parties, and sometimes my brother would be talking to me, and then I had to be ready for a crossfade, and I would hold my hand up and say, hold on, let me make this crossfade.
That's right.
Get back to the conversation.
Yeah.
Your dad gave you a chance to build a little studio, and you got these Technic
1200s, absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And so that was part of like a passion that you thought about, and that you made it happen. Yeah. Even when money was tight. Tell us about that situation.
Yeah, it was funny because the summer, I think it was 14. I wanted to play all summer like everyone else, and I said to my mom, I need to get these turntables. And she said to me, no, not helping. You do another hobby that you may, pick up and then drop, some months after this. And so I got a job at the hardware store around the corner, right? Did the Boys and Girls Club and worked there all summer to get this turntables. I thought, plural, when I go down to the store to get them, I had enough for one and didn't even have enough for money for the needle. Remember, they sold the needle separately, right? So the poor guy there just felt so bad for me. He gave me a needle, and man, I scratched on that turntable forever until I got the second one. But yeah, music was a big passion of mine. Philadelphia had DJ Jazzy Jeff and Fresh Prince and Cash Money and Grandmasters of Funk and all these guys. And I enjoyed being a DJ, and then putting a little group together that we go out and do shows and parties and stuff. Yeah, love that.
You're on SiriusXM.
Yes.
Where can folks find you?
Yeah, you can find us on SiriusXM Channel 154. It's called Holy Culture Radio. We play Christian hip hop all day long, 24/7. We've got 16 shows and the music mixes in between the shows. So yeah, you can find us right there.
Sweet. What you got for us, Des? Desmond? Maybe
okay. Yes. James, I have one last question to ask you.
Sure.
What circumstances got what circumstances got in the way of you being successful in your career in the beginning?
Well, in the beginning, it was a lot of my sense of lack of validation. That was part one. I think part two was not going to Temple as I originally planned. I mean, I was psyched up to go to Temple and be a communications major and get bumped out of that. And so those two things were setbacks, but I was able to overcome them over time. So those two were setbacks to me. And when I didn't go to Temple, I wound up just working and going to Computer Learning Center at night. I thought I wanted to be a computer programmer and did that. And then after I graduated, decided I didn't want to really do that. And so I just kept working and making my way up the corporate ladder, so to speak. But yeah, those are the two initially. Lack of validation and that sense of, lack of confidence that comes with it, and, not having some of those doors open like college that I wanted to.
Yeah, absolutely. It's an interesting thing that you bring up, your work ethic, your career, as you started moving up the corporate ladder. You started getting into the banking industry, if I remember correctly.
Correct.
Yes. Banking industry is on everybody's brain these days.
Yeah.
We can't really suggest or recommend any of this stuff, because of some YouTube rules and stuff. But,
yeah,
we can go into what is your take on what's going on today. There's a lot of talk about investment in silver and gold. Well, I'm a little blind guy. I've got this pittance of it, and it's getting ready to get demolished. Theoretically, the debt ceiling isn't fixed. Basically.
Yeah.
Some people.
Okay.
Well, it's not going to happen. It might happen, but what are we going to do? So what's your take on what's going on today in the banking industry?
Yeah. So I'll take a step back. I always say to folks, when you think about finances, think about a couple things. So one, think about understanding what you're investing in and the volatility of it.
Yeah.
So, if you can say, okay, great, good old savings account, you can count on it. It's FDIC insured up to $250,000 per account per bank. Right. And understand what interest does. And the rule of 72 is great. Even, when you're talking to kids, like rule 72 means take the amount of interest that account is going to earn, divide it into 72. That's how long it takes your money to double. So if you were getting 10%, 7 years, basically your money's going to double. And so that helps a person start thinking about, well, wait a minute, before I make this purchase, that purchase, you mean to tell me I could put this money here that has guaranteed interest? And obviously it's not 10%. I was using that for example, but it's 4% or whatever, right? Savings account grows a little bit for CDs. And as you continue to grow up with things that have higher interest rates, your volatility and risk goes up as well, right? So that's part one, like understand what you're investing in. I think part two is then once you have some money, let's say you've got $1,000. Well, should it all be in one place or should you diversify that? Some stuff that's low risk, some stuff that's medium risk, some stuff that's high risk. And then the third thing is then you graduate to now thinking about market conditions and what's happening in the market, which is your point around what's happening now, right? And
that's right.
I think there's always, you ever hear the term, bleeding edge, leading edge, best practices. So best practices are like things that tried and true have been done. Leading edge is, people are starting to do it. There's early mavens and some folks that have gotten to it. And bleeding edge is like, no one done it yet, but there's one or two guys standing on this hill saying we should do that, right? I think what you always have to do when you think about market conditions is think about the people talking and where they are on that spectrum. A lot of times when it's around creating hysteria and things like that, bleeding edge folks, right? And then as it starts to come downstream and gets validated, leading edge folks, Warren Buffett's and people like that will begin to talk about, what could be happening with the things they're doing, traders and hedge fund guys and whatnot. So for me, I just try to take it in, but not overreact too quickly until I get a sense of, what's really real or not. And I think that's where I leave it to your point. We can't give out investment advice, but I would say, think about number one and number two first before you make leaps.
What you're talking about now, I wish a lot of parents maybe yours did. I know mine, they did, but they just didn't tell me that they were doing it. Would teach kids from a young age some of these financial rules.
Right.
Because I guess that was an app. You didn't hang out with friends like 9 and 8 years old talking about financial things, but maybe your parent, like my mother, when I got my first job, she made me pay rent.
Right.
And I said, what? I thought this was my money. And then when I graduated, she had put the money in the savings account, and then she gave me my money back as a present. But that really taught me, pay your bills first, then have fun if you have money left over to have it.
Right.
All right. But I don't know if a lot of parents are teaching their kids that financial things, especially in the Black community.
Yeah.
So they can have these options.
Yeah. No, I think you're onto something. Absolutely. One of our show hosts has what he calls DJ Wado has Money Making Mondays, and I think every Monday when he has the topic, I think his listeners really appreciate it, because to your point, so many don't get it, right? And the things that those of us who do get it and are still, by the way, lifetime learners, right? I'm learning every week, still trying to, get smarter about it. But the things you take for granted and think aren't a big deal are fundamental to many folks. And that's a big part overall around our opportunity to mentor other people, right? Which is a big part of, the last part of my book, Promise 6, which is giving back to others. If you've learned all these different things, figure out a way to give it back. Because while we think we haven't achieved enough and we're looking to someone else, there's someone looking at us wishing they had what we had.
Yeah. It's all about hiding a bushel or a basket or something like that. So, you want to let that puppy shine as opposed to covering it up.
Yeah. Let's talk about channel 154.
Yes.
And getting on SiriusXM. How was that negotiating process? Because I bet that didn't happen overnight.
Well, no, it didn't happen overnight. We tried the first time back in 2010 or 11. We tried to pitch, and we weren't successible then.
I was sitting there waiting for you, because I was just listening to Howard Stern at the time, and I said, and I would look at the Christian station. I said, it's not doing it.
Yeah. So we went back this time, and I think we went back this time. I love to say, one, we had a better plan, and then two was God's timing, right? I mean, God's open doors that no man can close, and so I think when we went back this time, we were better prepared. I was in a better position to do it. I think the first time when I went in, I totally underestimated what it would take. No two ways about it. This time I wrote a different plan and had a different roadmap to doing it. And so for SiriusXM, they were really intrigued by it. And when we walked through, again, some of the data of the number of people that listen to gospel music, 50 million a month per the Gospel Music Association, and then that overlay with people that listen to hip hop music, and just thinking about zooming out, family-based content, right? That 18-year-old who jumps in the car with the mom who's 40, 42, and she wants to listen to Kirk Franklin. He wants to listen to Lil somebody, right? Lil Weezy, Lil Wayne, Lil something. Before they fight, they find us. And they go, oh, hold up, wait, ooh, this is, she's happy. I dig the words, I dig what's happening. He's happy, he's got the right beat. And then he's starting to listen and go, oh, okay, this is real life stuff. Because I think people first impression when they hear the words Christian hip hop is that it's going to be a sermon over a beat. These are artists who live in real life just like you, right? They're just coming with a Christian worldview in their approach, right? So they're telling their stories. They're talking about their pains. They're talking about their depression, their mental health challenges, all those different things. They just see the solution singularly as Jesus Christ.
That's right. That's absolutely.
And I do I set up concerts here, and my rocker friends always say, well, how come we don't have crazy violence and stuff like that? Because I mostly pick out positive or Christian contemporary artists to do the hip hop stuff.
Yeah.
And a lot of that stuff, I mean, they've been there, done that, and they don't want to bring that to my events.
Yes.
So I've had outdoor festivals and stuff like that. And so I figure, like, people, there are, stupid people out there, but when you pretty much have you pray about that, you pray that your angels will be around you. I find that a lot of good things come out of that. And
Yes.
tell us when you're developing like events through the Christian Contemporary thing, what is that process like for you? And how, when you first started, then how has it evolved into putting on events?
Yeah, you
to
know,
bring this to the streets?
so there's a couple different ways I think about events. One, the ones we participate in, co-sponsor, right? So there's one, for
Right.
example, next weekend in Boston, and I think not much has changed in terms of the intent, right? When we first started, we were young, on fire, right? Recently say it's like we gotta go out and use this music to help people know about the gospel, right? I don't think that's changed. I think what it is now is maybe we're more sophisticated. Maybe we are a bit more planful and think about all the different elements that need to happen. And we're conscious of the fact that people have so much content coming at them that we have to make sure it seems like it's going to be worth the money and have value and all those different things. But yeah, I mean, the process is putting together a lineup that is going to be appealing to folks and have a good balance based on the audience that we want to attract. Yeah.
Now just say, just for instance, say we want to bring your crew out to Colorado.
Yeah.
So you have to first find out, what's the fan base out there. I think through Sirius, you can tell like how many listeners are this way, and
we can tell regionally. We can't get down to a state level, but we can tell by the regions. Yeah.
Region like the region of Colorado, or
Colorado,
like the Northwest.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the process, would it take like maybe it's in our mind now, but it may not happen until like next summer, or is it like maybe 4 months from now kind of thing?
Oh no, it could happen this year. Yeah, it could happen this year. Like if we spec it out and we get a promoter who wants to who's leading the way, and we can help arrange the artists and some of the DJs. Oh yeah, it could happen this year. Yeah, depending on how large we want it to be as well, right? I mean, a big thing always is location.
Oh yeah.
Right.
Because I know we're gonna have the Heaven Fest here in July, and that's a mixture of things.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to get people like Toby Mac on the show and stuff like that. So I'm working on that kind of stuff. So I mean, we have that basis that it flows through, but they mix it up a little bit more than just the hip hop. And I'm thinking like just something solid like that. But I'll be in touch.
Yeah. Okay. Looking forward to it.
But man,
we're joined by James B Rosseau, the author of Success on Your Own Terms, and this is really an awesome book, folks. You're going to have to check that out and read that. Desmond, you had a question?
James, I have like one other question to ask you. So how did you reach success as an author?
Oh, I think that depends on how you look at it. For me, it became a great introduction tool and kind of calling card, right? I think having a book takes your thoughts and formalizes them and put them out in spaces that allow you to speak to different audiences. So it's been great in that light, both in professional environments, in schools and civic centers. I think for me, the most successful thing of it was it evolving to a workbook and a curriculum. That to me was success, right? Having something that we say now is a 6-part curriculum that we can take out to schools and use in other places. That was success for me.
Tell people how they can learn more about your nonprofit foundation, which I know we didn't talk very much about, but when they read the book, they're gonna find out more about that. How they can get in touch with,
go to thecorelinkSolution.com. It's just like it sounds, the Corelink CORELINK Solution.com, and you'll see everything about our nonprofit. You'll see information about the book, but the curriculum as well, who we offer it to, how we can bring it to you if you want, all that good stuff. And you can make a tax deductible donation to our nonprofit as well.
And give us the mission statement.
Revitalizing communities by empowering people to reach their potential.
All right. So I want to leave people with just enough where they're going to want more. And for some of our viewers, for you, that if you could name the station name 'cause I said at the end you're gonna have something. The station on Sirius that
Sure.
the show is that we're gonna give you like a free Intervision either hoodie or T-shirt for the
Oh,
first
thank
5
you.
people that come through there, and we want you to tune in on the station. So if you go back and listen to the show again, they get the the station colors of Sirius.
Yeah.
We want you to do that, and then like are you guys just on Thursdays, or are you?
Oh,
you
no,
have
we're
one network
20
and then
Yeah, we're 24/7 on the channel. Yeah.
oh
Yeah,
yes, oh yeah.
24/7. Yeah.
All right, so go back, listen to the beginning if you missed it, because I made sure I said it. And we want you to tune in the station. We want you to go to the nonprofit, and we want you to support the mission of James B.
Thank you. Thank you so
All
much.
right,
Yes.
man. All right, God bless you, man. And,
God bless y'all. Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
All right. All
God
right,
bless
see you later.
everybody. Vision
God
FM
bless you.
Universe. We'll see everybody tomorrow.
All right.
Good
All
night,
right.
y'all.
God bless everybody.